Imagine a world where your every move is watched, every action controlled, where your ability to buy food, pay bills, or even live freely is stripped away unless you submit to a single command. A new world system is rising, one of total obedience, surveillance, and the ultimate test of allegiance. The Bible speaks of a time when no one will be able to buy or sell unless they accept a mysterious mark, the mark of the beast. But here's the chilling question. Could there be nations that refuse? Could there be countries that rise up against the Antichrist and reject this global system of control? Today, we explore the possibility of nations standing firm and fighting to stay free from this world-shaping deception. To understand which nations might resist, we first need to grasp the nature of the mark. In Revelation 13:16-17, we are warned, He causes all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive a mark on their right hand or on their foreheads, and that no one may buy or sell except one who has the mark. This isn't some fictional dystopia, it's prophecy. And while this may sound unbelievable to some, the technology, systems, and trends we see developing today are eerily close to making this a reality. But does this mean that every nation will bow to this new world order? Are we all destined to follow the Antichrist? Or could some nations refuse to comply, to resist this control and the mark of the beast? The book of Revelation holds many clues about what could happen in the final days. One striking image appears in Revelation 12, where a pregnant woman, clothed in the sun, is under attack by a dragon. Scholars have debated the symbolism of this vision for centuries, but let's break it down. The dragon represents Satan, the devil himself, who draws a third of the stars from heaven, his fallen angels, now known as demons. And while the dragon waits to destroy the woman's child, the woman, whether you interpret her as Mary, Israel, or even the church, flees into the wilderness to escape the beast's rule. This wilderness symbolizes a place of refuge, a place where the faithful may survive even as the world falls deeper into chaos. Revelation tells us the woman will be in the wilderness for 1,260 days, which corresponds to the Great Tribulation. Some will face martyrdom, while others will survive by fleeing into the wilderness. This highlights a crucial point. Not every believer will die as a martyr. Some will endure and resist, finding refuge in the most unlikely places. As the Antichrist rises to power, we see him create an unholy trinity: Satan, the Antichrist, and the false prophet. Together, they will control the world through a combination of political and religious power, leading the masses to worship the beast and take the mark. But could some nations, perhaps even whole regions, stand in defiance of this evil government? Could there be a resistance? In Revelation 13, we're introduced to the Antichrist system of control, where no one can buy or sell without the mark. Imagine a society where everything is digital and those without the mark are shut out from basic human needs. The Antichrist will make the system seem irresistible. Perhaps it will be as simple as a tattoo or a chip. A mark that could be easily accepted in exchange for the convenience of a smooth life. But for those who refuse to comply, the consequences are harsh: outcast, hunted, and desperate to survive. But here's where things take a dark turn. Revelation tells us that for those who accept the mark, something horrifying will happen. Their bodies will begin to decay, suffering intense physical and spiritual torment. The mark, once seen as a symbol of convenience, becomes a curse. The sores described in Revelation will appear on those who bear the mark, and their pain will be a visible sign of their allegiance to the beast. It's not just physical suffering, it's a spiritual one too. Those who follow the beast will be eternally separated from God, sealed in their rebellion, while the faithful, though persecuted, will be spared. But the day is coming when God's judgment will be swift. In Revelation 15, the 7 angels of God, bearing the final judgments of the earth, will emerge from the heavenly temple. These judgments, though harsh, are just coming from a righteous God. As these angels pour out the bowls of God's wrath, the world will experience unimaginable disasters, floods, earthquakes, and plagues. Now the big question, what happens to those who refuse the mark? Picture a man named Fred. He lives a simple life, trying to avoid the mark of the beast. He watches as society pressures everyone to comply with the new system. He resists. But the world around him changes. Stores close. Food becomes scarce. And soon, Fred realizes that without the mark, his ability to survive is rapidly slipping away. Fred faces a choice. Accept the mark and live with the consequences, or continue to resist and face the hardships of an outcast life. The moment he takes the mark, he knows he's turned his back on God. And soon, those who have chosen to follow the beast will begin to suffer. Their marks will transform into painful sores, an outward sign of their inward spiritual decay. The world will notice, and many will realize too late that they've been deceived. What happens next? A series of supernatural events unfold. The sky darkens, the earth trembles, and God's judgment pours out on those who chose to follow the beast. Fred's suffering is just the beginning. His story is a warning, but it's also a wake-up call. The final battle for humanity's soul is at hand, and the choice to resist or submit will determine your eternal fate. In the end, God's judgment is final. The world may seem to be under the control of the Antichrist, but in the heavens, a greater power is preparing to intervene. The world will be forever changed, and the consequences of taking the mark will be felt by all. But remember, it's not too late. The truth will prevail, and those who stand firm will be rewarded. Will your nation stand against the beast, or will it bow to his rule? The time to decide is now. As the Antichrist consolidates his power, the global control system begins to intensify. The impact of the mark of the beast spreads, with increasing pressure on all nations to align with the new regime. The promise of a world without conflict, where order reigns, seduces many leaders. However, the true nature of this order is absolute oppression. The Bible warns us about the immense difficulty those who oppose the beast will face. In Revelation 13, we see that anyone who does not worship the image of the beast will be killed. This makes it clear that resistance will not only be a matter of political challenge, but of survival. The Antichrist's power will be absolute, with the mark becoming a symbol of loyalty. Those who accept the mark will be able to buy, sell, and access the basic resources of life, while those who refuse will be shut out of the system, living on the fringes of society. However, the Bible also offers us a vision of hope. While most will succumb to the pressure and accept the mark, there will be those who stand firm. In Revelation 14:9-11, we are warned of the terrible consequences for those who accept the mark, but we also see that the faithful who resist will ultimately be rewarded, even if they pay the price with their own lives. Resistance, even in the face of death, will be seen as an act of spiritual courage. The great dilemma is how nations will react to this global imposition. In some parts of the world, there will be leaders who, influenced by the power of the beast, will yield and force their populations to conform to the new system. Others, however, may rise up against this tyranny. The Bible does not explicitly describe which countries will be the heroes of this resistance, but it offers visions of a spiritual battle where the willpower of nations and individuals can be crucial. The resistance will be formed not only by political leaders, but by those who, in their faith, believe that true freedom is in God and not in human control. The prophecies speak of a time when many will be called to flee, to hide in the deserts or in the mountains. The battlefield will be invisible to the eyes of the world, but it will be fought in faith, in the everyday decisions to refuse the mark, to remain faithful to God, and to resist the seduction of the false promise of security. The signs in the heavens and the catastrophes that precede the second coming of Christ will serve as final warnings to humanity. In Revelation 16, we see the pouring out of God's bowls, where his judgment upon the followers of the beast will be evident. These judgments will not only be physical punishments, but spiritual ones, marking forever those who chose to follow the path of evil. However, there will be those who, in the face of society's collapse, remain faithful. They will resist until the end, knowing that the final victory is not in material survival, but in eternal salvation. What seemed to be a victory for the beast will actually be the preparation for divine intervention when Christ returns to establish his kingdom, and justice will be restored forever. As time goes on, the battle between good and evil intensifies. The Antichrist may seem invincible and his global system of control almost irresistible. But as we've seen, resistance is being forged in the hearts of the faithful, those who will choose spiritual freedom over any material comfort. The final battle is drawing near, and it will be decided by every choice we make. What will you choose? Submission to the power of the Antichrist, or resistance until the end with unwavering faith in God? What's to come will be more glorious than we can imagine. The final victory will not belong to the powerful of this world, but to those who remain firm in truth, justice, and the love of Christ. Prepare for the days ahead, for true freedom and salvation are in his hands. Don't miss the opportunity to follow more content like this. Subscribe to our channel now, like, comment, and share this video with those who need to understand the signs of the times. Stay tuned, because what's to come will be revealing. And remember, the journey to true freedom begins now. Let's go together to the end.